So as far as the expansion of CHOP goes, this was in 2013 where we switched from phase two to phase three. The goals here were really just to scale up the community, the peer leader trainings and the workshops overall. So it was really just to increase that community buy-in, um, as well as provide the personal hygiene awareness for the Burmese migrant students from the schools in Phofra. 2014 was a continuation of phase three. So again, more community buy-in from those peer educators in their own communities. And it was also kind of laying the groundwork for phase four. So as far as what a sample CHOP budget looks like, um, this is the budget from May of 2017 through April of 2018. And as you can see, it's all laid out in baht as well as dollars. And you can see the total in the bottom right corner comes out to $9,990, which is really close to that standard $10,000 goal we set every year. So some of these costs you can see are like for transportation, some are operational costs for peer educator trainings, and some are costs for the actual workshops that educate the Burmese migrants. As you can see, there's a lot of like lost marginal value by coming to these workshops. For example, you lose a day of income, you have to travel, you have expenses for travel. So SAW seeks to like kind of cover some of these costs. So they have like a per diem as well as food for the workshop attendees and peer educators. As you can see, those values over there, I'm not going to read off all these numbers, but you can see those pretty clearly. Um, yeah, some of these costs, like the mobile medical team, that's not actually in business anymore, I guess we can say. But one of the big changes to our partnership action frameworks this year was to kind of like allow free use of funds with SAW. So if they're not necessarily funding a project anymore, they can kind of reallocate it how they see fit wherever they need it. Um, yeah. So we have a big idea question here, and that's more about just this is more of an opinion thing, or you can go by the numbers if you want. Does any one component seem more valuable or crucial than another? And Matthew, do you want to go back to the last slide and just kind of let that be open? Yeah. So feel free to raise your hand or just unmute if anything stands out to you, I suppose. Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
So I think that like when I try to answer this question, like I try to keep in mind the fact that like it's not necessarily like what I feel is important, but maybe what's more important to SAW. And like Maria just put in the chat that like these unrestricted funds are very important because even though we fund CHOP, we try to make sure that everything else they do like helps other people as well. So it's not just about healthcare. They also have like a school where they teach migrant learners and things like that. So I think it kind of just depends on like their situation and what's going on there, and it's kind of flexible, especially during COVID-19. But I think that they all kind of serve their own purpose, and because they help such a wide range of people, that it really just depends on like who they're trying to help at the moment.
Yeah, fantastic. Adam, go ahead.
For me, what I thought was really cool was like the food, with just the amount of funds that goes towards the food. I don't know if it's true in Mesa, but I know in like Egypt, when you convert like the dollar to the Egyptian pound, you can buy more food than what you would think you could buy in America. I don't know if I explained that right. Like the
No, I
value.
get what you're saying. The or their dollar carries you further, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if it works the same, but like I guess I'm assuming like um you can buy a lot more food than what it seems with like the $3,300 that it says on screen.
Yeah. Actually, can I call in Matthew to talk briefly about his experience when he was on Grow 2 years ago?
Yeah, sure thing. So, um, when we were on Grow in 2019, we attended two different workshops that were held in the community. But um, to get from Mesa to where these workshops were held, we had to ride in the back of a truck that SAW has. And on the way to the workshop, we stopped somewhere else where they picked up the food that was being made for all of the workshop attendees. It was the house of a peer educator, actually. So we picked him up, and he also lives at this house where they are making and preparing food. And so that food was lunch and snacks and coffee for workshop attendees. I think that goes again with the general idea that attendees are foregoing a day's worth of wages of work in order to attend these workshops on a Saturday. So compensating them for the time that they're spending there, whether it's through the per diem, through the food that's provided at lunchtime, also just a hospitality thing, I would imagine. And then finally, we also in the truck brought a lot of supplies like cooking oil and a few other non-perishable items. So workshop attendees were given these sort of, you could think of them as incentives, whether it's to incentivize coming out to these workshops in order to make it worth their time, or just general good relations between SAW and the needs of the communities. I think there's a lot to be said about the ways SAW uses its funding to address specific needs that each community has. And that was a bit of a long-winded answer, Ajit, but I had a little bit of experience to share from that Grow experience.
Awesome.
We'll move on then to the next section here.
All right, hello, I'm